do not consent. Hey, everybody, it's great to meet you all. Hope you're all having a great day today, Thursday. They said, Mondays, they said that we wouldn't make it this far, but look at us now. We made it, huh? All right. So let me go ahead and share my screen here and just give me a thumbs up and make sure that everybody can see this once it goes here. And then let me, go ahead and share sound. And perfect. Everybody see that? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Perfect. All right. So as James said, my name's 𝗪𝗯𝗀𝗀. I work with James and the team in the US, obviously, on a myriad of different technical issues. So, and also going to be hosting this this webinar. We'll get started with the website. I'm sure everybody's kind of already familiar with the website at this point. You come to it, you get the splash page. Here we have a giant search bar. Now this gets lost. So believe it or not, a lot of people kind of hit us up and say, "Hey, what's the how do you get started in search?" A lot of people come up to Discover, which is also a really great way to search. But I think a majority of our users, they do use our search bar here. So what I'm going to do is just going to kind of go over some of the basic search functionality of this. Search bar is really meant for kind of Google type searches, which you just type in a word. So I'll type in a word jazz, right? I get the search term jazz here. I can see tags here. These are all the tags that are associated with the term jazz. My track titles here, my album titles, and my theme playlists. This is telling me that I have two tags in jazz. If I have a jazz quintet, I have new jazz. This is this is not necessarily all of the tags that we have for jazz currently. I think I'm logged in as a catalog, as a same permission set as your particular catalog. So it might be just a little bit tweaked there. This looks like it might be a bug. So generally speaking, what we would see is we'd see bebop, we'd see everything that kind of shows up under jazz. As we get into the filters, I'll show you where those come up. But this is just kind of suggesting, again, the catalog is so giant. We want to try to make it as easy as possible for you and your team to get to the music that's relevant to you and to your particular project. So, this window here isn't necessarily the definitive list of all of the things that we have in the catalog, but it's just trying to filter down that stuff and say, hey, show me tags that have the term that I've searched in this box here. Give me track titles that match the term in this box here. So anything with the term jazz, you can see jazz, jazzy, jazz. One of the things I think is very, very important about our catalog, we don't get too experimental with our track titles. So what we'll do is we'll always make sure that you're not going to see calypso salsa as a track title for a rock track. It would never be that, just because somebody was trying to kind of be creative and fun. We want those track titles. We spend a lot of time actually titling those track titles so that they're very specific to how we think that particular track might be used, and I help offset the search. So here we also have album titles. Again, it's looking for that term album titles. You can see the 25 plus here. Anytime you see that, that means there's more than 25 albums. I know there's more than 25 tracks, track titles that have the term jazz in it. And I also know that there's more than 25 album titles that have the word jazz, term jazz in it. So anytime you see that, you can simply click on it and it will take you to all of the results there. So which is really, really cool and really helpful. Under theme playlist here, I can see my theme playlist jazz, and I can see my genres, Latin atmospheres, jazz. These themes playlists are built by our music search and curation team. That music search and curation team is hand building these albums, these playlists. And what they're doing is they're taking tracks from across the entire catalog. They're kind of giving you these like really cool insights and snapshots for those particular terms. So you can see here, I got album titles, I got theme playlists, and I got track titles. And also too, I can click on any one of these and take me to any one of those particular catalogs. In this case, I'm just going to go ahead and hit return. And what return will do is that'll give me all of the search results across all of those categories, including some other things that weren't displayed there, just track description, things like this. And this will give me return results of all of those particular tracks. I'm going to go ahead and hit play. Just quick warning. It's going to give me, it's going to be maybe be a little bit loud. So just give me 1 second and I'll try to turn this down as much as possible. Perfect. All right, perfect. There we go. So when I hit play here, obviously it starts playing. I can kind of cycle through the track as I need to. One of the really important things, one of the things that kind of gets often overlooked, and again, one of those things that James was kind of alluding to, is the little tips and tricks. Fast forward and button. We have quick keys. So using the right arrow, I can advance in the track up to 5 seconds. Using the left arrow, I can go backwards in the track, and using the up and down arrows, I can actually go to the next track. So what I can do is I show you this. And as you can see, I'm just hitting the keys. If I go down, it'll play the next track. If I go up, it'll play the previous track. So really quick and easy way to kind of cycle through tracks, especially as you know, if you're kind of like having that kind of needle in a haystack search and you just want to like listen to some tracks and see what might strike you. In my particular view here, I only am looking at just the track title and just some of the track information row here. I don't want to, I'm not really looking at any of the other stuff. I can add the waveform
my
here.
Screen at all.
I'm sorry? Oh, so I can add the description here. I can add the tags. I can add all of them. I like it nice and clean. Generally speaking, if I'm really doing a kind of like intensive search, what I do is I'll like to look at the description. I read through the description as I'm listening to the track, because really, unlike the visual media, music is, you know, you have to kind of listen to it to see how it progresses. One of the nice things about having the track description as I'm listening to the music is I can kind of like I can kind of read the future as I'm reading the instructions. So if something starts off as like really, you know, kind of calm, a calm orchestral piece, as I'm reading through the track description, I can go, oh, okay, this builds into something cool. So it's a really cool, fast, easy way for me to kind of see what lies in store for me on a particular track. So with that, if you notice this panel on the left side here, this is our filter panel. Now, this is really a really cool filter. We can do things like filter by length. That's a slider. We can do things like filter by BPM. And these are all live. So if I were to filter in jazz tracks between 114 BPM and 200 BPM, the search results dynamically update. So as you see here, that number changes from, I think we started off at something around 8,000, and now it's, you know, it's kind of slowly filtering down. At any point, notice here, up here, I can clear all of these. I can disable a particular filter by just clicking that, and you notice a little line goes through it and it goes gray. So that was about 7,200. I can re-enable it, or I can remove just that tag, or if you saw the clear all there, I can actually delete all of those search filters. So once again, if I'm here and I'm looking for something between 0 to a minute, and then the lengths here, you see that these pillboxes, as we call them, start filling up. And if, for instance, I go, well, I've only got 516, maybe I don't want to refine the search that much. I can either use the clear all button to get rid of all of them and start from scratch with those filters, or I can just disable one, or again, just delete one. In this case, I'll go ahead and clear all, because we want to actually go through the rest of the filters here. The next filter here is tracks only tracks with stems. Don't know if in your particular application, if you guys need to be able to have access to stems. As you can see here, pretty much every track on this list has stem files. For anybody who doesn't know, stems are basically just the splits. So it's a drum. If there's drums, bass, and guitar, it's each one of those tracks. So it'd be drums, bass, and guitar. A lot of the more kind of complicated things like orchestral, we're not going to have every single string track. We might group the strings in together with all of the strings, or we might split them out by session. The idea is as we're producing these and as we're producing the stems, we try to kind of read your mind and read the client's mind and see like, well, what if they were going to need to tweak this, what might they need to tweak this by? Maybe there's a lead, maybe there's a saxophone lead, and it's like, it's a great track, but you remove the saxophone lead, it kind of is a completely different track. So we try to split those things out there. You can filter tracks only with stems. So you could start your search off by just looking for tracks with just stems. And as you saw, that 7,000 list is kind of reduced down to about 1,800. So now I know that if I know that I'm going to need stems at some point, if I know that a particular producer that I'm working with, or a particular client, at whatever point, if I know that those, that client always likes to go in and tweak the mix a little bit, I know that I can at least start my search off from there. Also too, if you're just kind of trying to like put together some beds and stuff like that, and you just want, you like the beat of a particular song or something, and you don't want to, you don't want to have all the musical accompaniment, it's a very good way to kind of tweak those tracks out, tweak those tracks to your particular usage. Really, really interesting things you can do with like building your own underscores. Now, I know a lot of times schedules being what they are, that's probably not necessarily something that we have the luxury of having in terms of like being able to tweak stuff with time. So we also do offer different types of versions and edits. So in this particular case, Disco Delight, there's a vocal lead version where they're vocal lead, and then there's just an instrumental version. A lot of time you'll see instrumental version, underscore versions, and things like that. So just by simply clicking on the track title, that takes us to that, and we're able to kind of see those things that are kind of prepackaged. Again, we try to anticipate the needs that you might have in the normal production flow or your normal workday, and try to give those to you so that you basically can, go about your day and close those projects and finish them a lot faster. So that's the tracks only with stems filter. Again, version type, if you're looking for a particular version type, if you know that you need something with a vocal lead, it's really great. You can search with or without. So for instance, if I were to take this off, we'll see this this number get reduced down to 792. So that those tracks that are tagged as with a vocal lead, now I have a vocal lead here. I can remove that, and I can also do a subtracted search. So what does that mean? Well, maybe I know that I don't want any tracks with, this is probably not a great example, but I don't want any tracks with a backing vocal. By using the subtractive search, and notice how it turns red, now I'm looking for stuff that doesn't have that. So for instance, I might be looking for, jazz music that doesn't have, that doesn't have a piano. Maybe I'm looking for saxophone jazz, something like that. These are all the types of options that you can kind of build off of to really kind of create a really good search and help you get to the music that you need faster. I'll go ahead and remove that. Version type, we also have edit type. Whether or not, if you guys are putting a lot of packages together, most everybody on this call is probably already familiar with the site. If you're putting a lot of like 30, 60 stinger packages together, this is a really great way to kind of filter those down too. So maybe you don't need the full length. Maybe it's like, okay, cool. I understand what the piece of music is doing, but I just need a bunch of 15-second pieces for sweeteners or whatever. This is a perfect place to do that. You can apply the 15 seconds. Now I'm just listening to the 15-second versions. I don't have to be cluttered with, oh, it would be really great to have a 15-second clip of this particular thing. We can see this here. One of the things that we take really, really a lot of time and care on is, instead of the full length version, when we say something is a cut down or an edit, it's not just a 30-second clip out of the middle or the front or the back, or 15-second clip, or 60-second clip rather. It is quite literally trying to follow, in as much as we can, it's trying to follow that original structure of the song itself. So it's going to have a beginning, it's going to have a middle, it's going to have an end. If there's a track with a crescendo in it, when we edit those, we're using the stems, we're using these things. We're not just taking a two-track stereo mix and trying to condense the time. We're actually going through and really kind of carefully editing those. So that is just something that want to be sure that everybody on this call is aware of. We do our best when we start getting to the 20 and the 15 and the 10-second, obviously taking a 90-second piece of music and condensing it down to 10 seconds. it's probably not going to be the best. But I think, you know, what ends up happening with those shorter pieces is like, yeah, well, what are you actually looking for in a 10-second piece of music? Based off of the particular piece of music that we have, we will edit it down so that it tries to make the most sense possible. And of course, if you have a better idea about how that piece should be edited, you can download the full length version and edit it yourself. Genres, of course, you know, every good search site kind of organizes them into genres. I think, you know, you can see by my search term here, I think it's probably about 94% of all people that come to the site, they're looking and they're firing in a keyword search, and it's generally speaking, it's a genre. So that is what, you know, obviously that's our bread and butter. So that's, you're going to find that. You can see that even my search term here for this particular demonstration is a genre, right? It's a musical genre. Jazz, there's no shortage of them here. As you can tell here, we've also taken those jazz tags, and if you click on jazz in this case, you can actually filter that down. So if you're a jazz aficionado and you know, like, oh, it's going to be Latin jazz or cool jazz, or, you know, one of my favorites is hot club. You know, it's like hot club, if you even know what that is. You know, those are the types of things that you can cancel. You can go down. If you get a very specific request for ragtime, you can definitely do a jazz search and fire in, and then add that ragtime thing in there. You know, you can also just type in ragtime and it'll pull it up. So there's you know, having this and really kind of knowing where these genres and how they're kind of split out is very, very helpful. Now you say to me, Damien, why is there R&B here? Well, the reason is that sometimes tracks, just because they're tagged as genre, which is one of the reasons why the filters are so important, right? It's not necessarily that you're just going to get all the anything that's just jazz. There's stuff that has a jazz influence of it in it, but it might be R&B, it might be a pop song, it might be a rock song that has a really heavy jazz influence. A lot of times tracks are tagged with multiple genres because it is one of those things where it's like, oh, okay, if I'm listening to it from this perspective, it's a rock track. If I'm looking at it through that perspective, it's a jazz track. And the guy in the middle says, well, I can see both. That is one of the reasons. That's one of the things that makes a search engine like this so powerful, is that, yeah, you know, you would want to have a jazz influence. You know, one of the things I like to bring up all the time is, you know, a lot of early 90s hip hop. I mean, if we listen to a lot of early Q-tip records, it's all jazz samples over and over again. Well, it's hip hop. It's obviously hip hop, but it's also jazz, because there's, I mean, the overabundance of the backing musical track is jazz. We wouldn't want to lose that out as the descriptive term for it, right? If I was looking for jazzy hip hop is a lot different than Dr. Dre hip hop. So those are the types of things, reasons that you might see multiple genres attached to a particular work. Mood, you know, we try to use common, common terms when we're talking about music. Is it happy? Is it sad? Is it upbeat? Is it positive? What are those musical feels of it? That is where mood comes in. Mood is just another way to say, look, I'm looking for some optimistic, positive, or some cheerful, happy music. Obviously, obviously that's subjective, but I will say that objectively speaking, we try to make sure that everybody that's, you know, anytime that we're popping a tag in there, that it's, could it be used for something happy? No, it's going to need to fit into a very specific lane for it to be kind of happy, positive, right? So this again is just a really nice way to kind of get to the content that you're looking to a lot quicker. Mood. Tempo is my favorite. I get questions all the time. Damien, what's the difference? What's BPM versus tempo? Well, BPM is just very, very simply, it's the math, right? The math of how many beats per minute is happening in this particular track. The tempo is the feel, right? So it has nothing to do with science. It's all about, feel. So tempo is like, does it feel fast? Does it feel slow? Does it feel medium? One of the examples I use all the time is like anybody who listen to dubstep or knows what dubstep is, it feels very fast. Like everybody's like, oh yeah, the tempo is really fast, but it's not. Actually, like the definition for dubstep is 80 beats per minute, which by any BPM measurement is slow. It's what's causing the musical feel to be fast is the synth lines and the bass lines that are kind of carrying that piece of music through. So that's why we have tempo and BPM. BPM is very, very useful, obviously, for aligning things to edits, or if there's like some kind of syncopation that you're trying to match. BPM is what you want every single time. Tempo is definitely what you want to look for if you're looking for something that's fast, or maybe something that's slow. Music for, obviously, any piece of music can be used for anything, and this is one of the things that, but we also want it to be helpful, right? When we use the music for tag group, that is, we are very objectively listening to the track, going, this is what you would hear if you were to go to, you know, a snowboard competition in Boulder. This is something that you would hear if you were doing a television commercial for soap. This is something that you might do for a radio promo ad for a local car dealership. This music for is that is what this is meant to serve as. It doesn't have every single term in the entire Oxford English Dictionary, but it's going to, you'll see that those buckets that we kind of align them to are very, very consistent and useful. Era is another thing. You know, I think, look, I'm the guy running this thing, or I'm the guy running this webinar right now. There's certain things where I get into arguments all the time with my counterparts. It's like, oh yeah, hey, give me music from the 2010s versus give me music from, you know, the 2000s. Yeah, sure. I think especially when we're talking about some of the pop stuff, I think it gets a little bit more difficult, but I really find this useful for older stuff, right? I think for older stuff, it's very clear what's jazz from the 1960s versus jazz from the early 2000s. I think it's very, very, very useful for those in those particular circumstances. Country is less used, but I think it's more if you're like looking for, you know, kind of world genres, things like that. And finally, label. What we find is that people get set on a particular label. I have some of my favorite labels. I think one of them is Frontrunners. It's a great label. So a lot of times people just want to be able to search by a label, so we offer that here. So that it kind of goes over, all right, my search flow. I'm firing in a term, I've kind of dialed in my search, this and that. I'm still not quite getting what I want, or I have a musical reference I want to match up. Let me introduce you to a similarity search. Similarity search is a great track. So let's say I'm listening to Disco Delight and I really like the track. I'm not quite sure though, like what other terms I might use to describe this particular thing. Maybe I've looked at the description. Maybe I looked at some of the associated tags, but I'm just still kind of like not hearing it. But I'd like us to hear more content that sounds like disco jazz. Well, if I use this similarity search button here at the track level, similarity search goes through and it's going to search every piece of music in the catalog, and it's going to find associated tracks that it thinks are associated with that track, that they have a similar sound, a similar genre, all of these types of things. As we can see, this is very good news for me, that I'm already seeing a bunch of results from this particular album, Disco Delight. Now, I don't know if anyone's had the opportunity to listen to Disco Delight, but it's a very unique album. So this is actually not surprising me that it's pulling up tracks that are probably from the same album. But you can see that the first two that it matched against are Give Me Some Uplift and Funky Intentions. I will give you the Damien Chalk guarantee that you'll never be upset with that it'll never make you mad, the results that you get. Similarity search, again, every piece of music can be subjective. Similarity search is an AI. It's a fully functioning AI. Every time we add a new piece of music in, the AI goes through and listens to every other piece of music in the catalog and makes associations. And as many of you know, you get our weekly update emails. We update the catalog weekly, so that AI is very, very busy in the background, making sure that these associations are being made. My guarantee to you is that the results that you get will never make you mad. You'll always be able to listen to it, go like, oh, okay, this is a quality that this AI has kind of picked up on. And it's going, oh, I like this track. Anytime you add that track to a playlist, or anytime you download that track, it's going to reward itself and go, okay, cool, that association was a good association. next time that I go through and rescan, these are the types of tracks that that will then influence the search the next time. So it's a very, very it's a very, very useful tool, a very powerful tool. Second way that we can search with similarity search is using the similarity search button up here. We can fire in any YouTube URL, a SoundCloud URL, or a Vimeo URL. The only problem with Vimeo is they can't be private. So if you have a particular reference track, like one of the things that I really like, Marcus Miller, another jazz artist, you can go to YouTube, find that particular piece of music, or somebody sends you a piece of music, or sends you a YouTube link and go, I'd really like to find music like this. Fire that in here. You can just, all you need to do is paste that URL in, and I'm so sorry, I usually have an example, but you fire that URL in. You can actually tell similarity search which section of piece of music that you're actually listening for, because it may not be that the entire video is all music. You're just like trying to dial into a particular section, and then you click search, and it will return results on the website of all of those tracks that it's deemed as being similar. Also, too, we have the additional ability to take an audio file, either a WAV or an MP3. No AIF support currently, but WAV or an MP3. You can upload it. Everybody has that audio file.mp3 on their desktop that they don't remember, or can't remember what it is. Hey, if you want to if you want to do a search of a piece of music that sounds similar to that particular piece of music, I would encourage you to upload it here and get those results. It's a very great way to search. Now, just kind of going over the navigation. Now, you notice this, and I kind of maybe here, as I click on the track title, it exposes different information about the track. I can see the album it is, the composers, the publisher, the label. This button right here is a copy paste button. So let me go to paste bin. Perfect. Yeah, here we go. And if I copy paste, see this here, boom, track Disco Delight, it pastes all of that information. If you need to generate cue sheets or just need to get additional information about a particular track, definitely use this button. Again, versions and edits if I need to see the lyrics. Also, too, with keyword search, we have a track title search and a lyric search. So if you're looking for a particular piece of lyrics that said, you're looking for something for Christmas and you just want the word Christmas in that, you can actually do a lyric search, augment that, and it'll actually search through all the lyrics that mention a particular word or phrase or whatever, and pull those results back for you. So these are all, if I need to download those stems that we were talking about earlier, I can just click on the download. Again, all of that is kind of found, oh, there we go. All of that is kind of found here by clicking on the particular track title. What are all these other buttons? Well, this is a play button. This is obviously a download button. This is a plus button. This plus button will add a particular track to a playlist. We encourage everyone to have their own account. A lot of times it's nice to be able to share a production music at or production at account. The problem with that is that you can't really, there's no way for me, Damien, to kind of separate the playlists that maybe Kevin has, or Kevin can't have like a private playlist from Adam. So those are the types of reasons. That's one of the reasons why it's so important that everybody have their own account. I know that a lot of the reason is because we want to collaborate. Well, we want to be able to pull from the same files and stuff. Well, let me show you a real quick trick. So we'll just go ahead and say jazz. Perfect. Go ahead and add a jazz project from my right-hand panel here. Click new project. By clicking new project, give it a name. It'll load here. I'll activate that project. Notice here, it's now blue, and I'll hit this plus button. By hitting that plus button, it will add that particular track to my project, and I will add this track to that project, and I will add this track to that project. So now, currently, I have 3 separate tracks in that particular project that I can do any number of things to. Now, we'll come back to that in a second, but I can also favorite a track. I can share a track. If I share a track, if I just want to send a track to somebody, maybe it's a producer or somebody that maybe doesn't have an account, maybe it's a client that doesn't have an account. It's like, oh, were you thinking about this? You can use this, copy this, email that particular track off to somebody. It's a really cool way to kind of just get real quick feedback on that kind of stuff. But if I'm looking here, I'll go back to view my projects. Now I can view my projects. Well, by viewing my projects, what I can do is I can open this up and I can see all of the tracks that I've just added to that particular project. It's a very good way for me to kind of keep my curation list. If I know that I'm always looking for indie rock, or I found a bunch of tracks, or I have this really great jazz playlist that I like to use on a lot of different projects, I can do this. I don't have to worry about if we're kind of like sharing a group project. I don't have to worry about, like, you know, if we're sharing a group account, excuse me, about somebody coming in and modifying my project, or me sharing stuff that are just ideas. I don't have to worry about any of that stuff. So I can use this project pane just directly for that. Via this, I can also do a bunch of different things. I can, with this, I can add information. So my project panel, I can rename it. If I need to rename it, I can click here just to rename. I can see the history, see when the last time I added a particular track to it was. I can also add notes. So, you know, I could do something like best jazz. Perfect. And then click submit. And then I can actually add a note that I can search later if I ever need to. It's just a really helpful way to kind of keep all this stuff together. Again, it's just us adding a tool that kind of helps you collaborate. Now, I want to share this with somebody. Well, this particular project, jazz project, I want to share with somebody, right? So what I can do is, by clicking this button here, I can go here and I can click on share, collaborate, and pitch. Damien, what's the difference? What's share? What's collaborate? What's pitch? It all sounds like the same to me. And you wouldn't be blamed for thinking that, right? But share is, if I want to share a particular project with, let's say with James, I want to share that particular project with James. By clicking on the share button, that project, this particular project, jazz project, will be emailed to James on James's account. Now, if I click share here, this is where I would select James's email. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do mine, because I have, yeah, perfect. I've got a test account already set up here. And then I click share. Sharing a playlist is a one-way trip. It's, hey, James, it's, hey, D, check out this playlist. Here it is. Here's all the tracks. And it's a one-way trip. It shows up in that person's playlist on in their account when they log in, and they can see it. Now, well, what if I want to collaborate with D? So if I click collaborate instead, what this does, the collaborate allows for both D and myself to add and remove tracks off of a playlist. So it's a very collaborative type of playlist. That is great for if I need to ask James, for instance, if I'm sharing, I go, man, I'm stuck on this jazz search. Is there anything that you have that could help? I can collaborate with him. Or if there's a giant production that a bunch of different people are working on, you can collaborate that project with any number of users, and all those users can add tracks and stuff to that particular playlist. And it's a very good, quick, and easy way to kind of get all of that collaboration into one place without having to download the files, create a folder on the server, create a Dropbox link, or you send it or we send it or whatever. It's a very quick and easy way to kind of get that content in there and collaborate with that. So I'm going to go ahead and collaborate with the D at Tone Deaf again here, because I will show you in 1 second what that looks like, and I'll hit collaborate. Nope. And then finally, we have pitch. So if I want to go here and I want to do a pitch is an interesting one. Pitch actually will send an HTML formatted email to somebody outside. So pitch is generally used for somebody that you need to get approval from, or that you need to share tracks with, that doesn't have an account on the UPM site. I guess, you know, the most common thing is an external producer, or somebody sharing these tracks with a client who wants to be able to hear, oh, could you send me some jazz tracks? And we're like, oh yeah, here you go. Check this pitch out. You can listen to the tracks. They can't really download it, but they can listen to it, and they can say, oh yeah, track 3. Again, it just saves you the step of having to download it, create a Dropbox link or a box link, and get that out to them so that they can monitor it. It's a very quick way for you to share that content with them. And then they can just respond to your email and just say, hey, I really like track 4. So that is what that is. One of the things before we jump over, you know what, let me go ahead and stop share, and I'm going to share my entire screen now, and I'm going to show you what that looks like on my account that I shared it with. So here is the person that I'm collaborating those two playlists with, and I will go ahead and hit refresh. I will have seen an email in my email inbox. And not only that, but now when I click on view my projects, I see my jazz project collaboration. Notice the little C here. So that's been collaborated with me. This particular project has been collaborated with me. Now, as I add and remove tracks from this user account, those changes get applied to this user account. Very, very cool, fun way to kind of use this technology in a very good way. Let me see here. I'll refresh real fast, and we should see now that Jazz Project only has 2. So you can see a little 𝗧𝗶𝗽𝗀 and Disco Delight are the only 2 tracks left on that. Let's say that I have a collaborated playlist that we've all kind of worked on together, and I'm like, well, this is really great. I don't want to actually lose this. You can actually duplicate that playlist, and by duplicating it, you now have your own copy of that particular playlist that you can go in and add, and then I can just say D's jazz playlist. And now, you know, if we all have those music people that just have really good taste, really good ears. Those people, when they send you a playlist, you want to kind of hold on to them for a little bit. This is a great way to do that without kind of harming the integrity of the collaborated playlist. Or if there's just stuff that you want to add to it, like you have your own list of favorites, this is a very, very good way to do it. So you can, again, if this playlist was shared with me, it would be called, it would have an S next to it. If it would be, because it was collaborated with me, there's a C next to it. So kind of moving forward from there, let me show you one thing that I think gets lost a lot of times. Via our site, we can actually set site admins who can be responsible for logins across your organization. So if you have multiple offices and multiple people, multiple heads of departments, and it's kind of all over the place, you don't need to reach out to UPM to manage those accounts. You can set an account admin, and that admin can add users as needed. So as you can see here, I've given myself the special admin user account information, and I'm able to go in and add users. So I can just click an add user. I can just give them their title, you know, first name, last name, job title, and then the email address. I click then submit, and that person shows up. Likewise, I can also remove users. So it's a very good way for department heads or people, you know, especially with the summer coming up. I don't know if you guys employ a lot of summer interns. If they get a corporate email address, you can definitely add those users in and then shut them off by the time they all leave and go back to school. So very, very good way to kind of manage those users without actually having to reach out to us. You know, a lot of, yeah.
Can I jump in real quick?
Sure, of course.
So we've actually have a profile set up for each one of Salem's markets. So when we set up a admin, you will just see the users in your market. So typically it's the production director or the operations manager that's at that market. And so if you go into that users section up there where Damien clicked on, if you don't see that manage users tab and you want to be able to manage users, shoot me an email and I'll get it added for you. It's really a quick, simple add, and then you just log out, log back in, and you'll see it. But just wanted to throw in there that you won't see everybody across Salem. It's just going to be the users for your market. So you can go in there and remove anybody that shouldn't be and add them. And if you don't see that manage users tab, reach out to me and I'll get it added for you.
Great point. Thank you so much for adding that. So, you know, these are just very, very, you know, this is obviously like, we're trying to do the fastest kind of overview for your team to kind of really kind of give you that that edge when it comes to dealing with the site. Maybe things and features on the site that you may not have been aware of. So with that, let's go over to, I believe you guys use sound effects. So let's go over to Discover Menu. Let's just quickly touch on what Discover Menu is. Discover Menu is just another way to kind of search and interact with our content. A lot of people are visual. For me, it's like, yeah, fire in some terms, start searching, go through. A lot of people want to be kind of spoon-fed. Maybe they don't feel so comfortable in, you know, kind of talking about music. via the Discover menu, we organize each one of the music collections into kind of a bunch of different stuff. So collections are, you know, we've grouped that particular content, whether it's an album, whether it's a playlist, whether it's a track, we've kind of grouped them under the action production music organizational bucket or collection. So that means that any action playlists would show up here. Anything that could be considered action would show up here. Any notable albums. We also have some on some of these you'll see just like specific highlighted tracks that you'll find at the bottom. So Discover is just a nice way for maybe people who are more visual searchers to go through and kind of search. New releases, this is obviously all of the new releases that we have organized by month. It's always a 12-month rolling. So, you know, you will see from November 2021, but that's because we want to make sure that we're always kind of keeping that stuff up to date. Again, once you get to the bottom of this page, notice there's a load more here. You know, we rely on the load more a lot throughout the site. So I think we're right in the middle of a refresh schedule. So by Friday, by this Friday, we should see some additional content here. But yeah, we have this organized by May, April. We release tons of new content every week. So it's really good to be able to just kind of hop into the site and check out what's new and kind of here in one single place. Playlists, again, these are all of those kind of hand curated playlists from our music directors. We can sort by newest, we can sort by name, we can sort by oldest. We can also sort or filter by theme, right? So if I just want to see, give me anything that's Christmas, funny happening in May. But if I want to see all the Christmas playlists, boom, I just tick that and I can see all those Christmas playlists, knowing that when I go through and look for that, those are going to be tracks that are kind of compiled from across the catalog that really kind of fit that genre. Get inspired. This is just kind of like if you want to see, kind of get up to date and like kind of with the newest happenings and what's kind of going on. Let's go to here. Let's go to albums. Albums, these are just kind of, these are our highlighted albums. So these are albums that we think are important in a way. So we've taken all of the albums, of course, we put those all in the other, but you'll see at the very top here, these are kind of our albums that are currently in Spotlight. So very, very cool. Also too, the albums, just like the playlist, you can sort by newest, you can sort by oldest, you can sort by name. Categories, album level categories. So if you just want to see some folk albums, tap that. You'll be on your way. Moods, same thing. Moods, just like with the filters, we've kind of taken specific moods. Now it's not every single mood, but it's moods that we get a lot of requests for, right? So those moods have are kind of highlighted in here. And you click on, for instance, if I click on building, it'll give me that mood with the playlist, the album, and oh look, in this case I have some building tracks, so I can just listen to a track, a one-off track. Genres, same thing, obviously that goes without saying. And then finally here, let's look at labels. Like I said, if there's some labels that you really start to fall in love with over time, again, as I said, one of my favorites is Frontrunners. It's a great label. Very modern, very contemporary stuff on that one. And then finally by composer. If there's a particular composer that you find yourself kind of searching a lot, you can actually go through and just check out all of their work, because obviously Universal Production Music lives and dies by these good people highlighted on this page. So sound effects. All right. Couple ground rules with sound effects. Always make sure that you're kind of logged in. If I could just say one thing, the biggest issue is that people aren't logged in. There is an SSO connection from the Universal Production Music site to our sound effects portal. So you first need to be logged into the Universal Production Music site. And once you're logged into the Universal Production Music site, you can click this button, and this button activates that SSO connection and then allows you to log in based off of your credentials. Because Salem is so massive, because there's so many people using the site, it's the way that we have to kind of track it to make sure that, all the appropriate people and all the appropriate offices and territories are all being able to access the content that they have rights to. So That's one of the reasons why it's so important that you're logged in first. If you're going to bookmark any page to get to the sound design page, I would suggest bookmarking this page. By clicking on go to sound effects, I'll click that. I'll get to the sound effects catalog here. Again, we're seeing that key search term here. So let's look for plane. Perfect. I'll go ahead and search for plane. I can just do a keyword search. As you can see here, it's just doing a keyword search. I can also do an advanced search, right? So if I'm looking for keyword plane, but maybe I'm looking for category is an airport, or maybe I'm just looking for an airport ambience. I can use that. I can click search, and that will then filter my plane searches down. So now I'm just looking for airport background noises all throughout here. Here you just play, you can play, just play the cue by clicking play. Yeah, there you go, obviously. And then of course, you can skip through the session. One of the things that, please everybody know, you can see that these are all recorded 4824. The previous sounds are low quality. That's intentional. Just know that all of these sounds are very, very modern, recorded modern technology. They're very, very high resolution. In fact, you can see this one is recorded in 96K sample rate. They're very, very high quality. And just because you might hear the quality difference when you're streaming, it's super high quality once it's downloaded. You can of course filter by how many items per page, 30, 50, or 100. And you can actually create your own playlists. So you can actually go through and create playlists of sound effects. It's your mileage may vary. I know some people love it, and some people are like, why? I don't understand why I would have that. But I just want to make you aware that it's there. And I can go ahead and remove those keywords, and I can start from scratch essentially. So that's pretty much it. Oh, how do we add things to playlists? You see this little heart symbol here. I can actually just take that and add it to the playlist. And that would add to any particular playlist that I saved. In this case, it's test PL. I'll click add, and then that number increments from 2 to 3. That is pretty much it. Oh yeah, and then of course, there's tons and tons of sound effects here. So we have our pages. You can skip to the last page. You can skip to the first page. It's all pretty, I think for most everybody on this call, it's all pretty much, it's self-explanatory in the terms of like how websites work. But again, like I said, make sure that we bookmark this page and use this go to sound effects button before we go to the page. And with that is pretty much all I had on my topic of discussion. Is there any questions, or is there anything I can answer specifically?
Yeah, if I can chime in with a question. This is Trevor K out of Salem, Minneapolis. Is there a really good, consistent way to search for things like short sweeps, stabs, stagers, like you'd use for ID production, that kind of thing?
That's a great question. So we don't necessarily term those as sound effects. That's like sound design. So what I would generally start by doing is coming in here and then looking and filtering by genre, using the genre term to search for that kind of stuff. And let me show you once it loads. I don't know why it's here. Perfect. We categorize those generally as production effects. So if you'll see here, sound design, I can add sound design in here. And now I've got tons of different types of effects that you're kind of looking for, right? So with those, I can investigate the tags. I can look and go, okay, yeah, I'm looking for something that's, an action adventure, dynamic, things like this. I think with sound design and production elements too, you have drones, you have, well, dance electronic, I think is probably less relevant to what it is that you're looking for. But yeah, you can see that there's certain types of keywords and things in here that would help offset that. So if I were going to search for anything, I would start by doing searching for sound design and then looking for stabs.
Okay, thanks. That helps a bit.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I've been doing, and it is a few more steps than previous programs that I've used, but that works just fine.
Yeah, and I
don't
definitely
mean that as a
see where
dig.
you're
I just
coming from.
was wondering if there was something better. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I think you bring up a good point. You know, I think if we're talking about these types of effects, it definitely should be. I'll definitely put that in my notes as something as an area of improvement.
That'd
The,
be awesome. Appreciate that.
the other suggestion I've had on that one before is if you hit the drop down button on the edit, it'll let you just pick out the stabs and the stings, I guess the stings. And so that'll also, pull out some of those other longer form ones out where you can just hear the short, 7 to 15 second pieces of music all, just when you hit the play button going down the list.
Precisely. I mean, that's definitely, if you're not looking for something that's necessarily, sound design, for instance, and you're just looking for some kind of, music sting or musical sting or musical hit, this is definitely a great way to do that too. If you know that you're looking for something that's like, maybe a rock, maybe something that's like a rock stinger hit, it's definitely a good way to kind of pull that stuff up too.
Super. I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. All right. Well, James, do you have anything else to add?
No, I believe that was it. If you ever, like I said, if you ever run into something that doesn't make sense or have a question, reach out to me and I can help out with it. And I really appreciate everybody taking the time to get on this call today. I hope everybody got a chance to learn something new, and there's nothing you can break on the site. That's the nice thing about it. So again, there if you haven't, and try something new and different, and see what you can find to use in your content.
I just wanted to thank James and the gang at FirstCom, doing production since like the late 80s. This is the best, the most stellar production music, and support staff is just amazing. So thank you guys.
I really appreciate that. And one thing with the change to Universal production music, it wasn't really a big change because we've been owned by Universal this whole time. We moved to operating under the other names. So we still have the same great team doing all the production of music, and same composers. It was just, I really appreciate that feedback, and we love having Salem as a client. I really appreciate all y'all.
Hey, can I jump in here and ask a question?
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, it's Corey from Seattle. I have a question just real quickly. Can you review the management who's all on your team? Can you quickly show me where you went to for that? I missed that.
Oh yeah, sure. Hold on a second. Sorry about that. I was just unsharing. I thought the question was going to take a different turn. So here, no problem. So here I'll just click on my avatar, or this handsome guy, as I like to call him. I'll click on there, and then under this My Account tab here, if you have the permissions enabled, again, this is not something that we just hand out to everybody, but if you have the permissions enabled on your particular account, underneath, you'll see underneath your My Account page, under Manage Users, you'll have a Manage Users tab. If you don't have the permissions, you won't see it, but it'll be under Manage Users tab, and then this is where you would add those users.
All right, sounds good. Thank you so much.
And if you don't have that Manage Users tab, reach out to James. He's your guy. He's going to get that settled and handled.
All right, awesome.
Perfect.
And thank you for this. This has been very informative. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, of course. Happy to
no
help.
problem.
And we're here. By the way, when you hit me up, I'm not a paid actor, as hard as that is to believe. When you email our tech support, many of those emails come across my desk. So just know that all of this stuff's from the horse's mouth. So we might end up conversing if there's any problems or issues you have. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, I appreciate everybody's time. I have recorded this, so I'll figure out how to share that back out so anybody who missed it can watch it later. But I really appreciate all of y'all. Thank you so much for your time, and if you ever need anything, hit me up.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.